In the heart of St. Petersburg, Russia, stands one of the most imposing monuments in the world, the Alexander Column. Rising 47.5 meters into the sky, this granite monolith dominates Palace Square with an authority that seems almost supernatural. Yet beneath its celebrated facade lies a web of mysteries that challenge everything we think we know about its origins, construction, and the civilization that created it. The official narrative tells us that this magnificent column was erected between 1830 and 1834 to commemorate Emperor Alexander I's victory over Napoleon. French architect Auguste de Montferrand supposedly designed it, and Russian engineers accomplished the impossible feat of quarrying, transporting, and erecting what remains the tallest freestanding monument in the world. But when examined closely, this story begins to unravel like a tapestry pulled at the wrong thread. The first anomaly that strikes any serious investigator is the sheer impossibility of the construction itself. The column consists of a single piece of red granite weighing approximately 600 tons. Even by today's standards, moving such a massive object would require extraordinary planning and equipment. In the 1830s, the available technology consisted of horse-drawn carts, primitive pulleys, and manual labor. The official accounts describe a workforce of 2,000 men using a complex system of ropes and scaffolding to raise the column in a single day, August 30th, 1834. Contemporary witnesses recorded their amazement at this feat, but their accounts raise more questions than they answer. How did 19th century engineers calculate the precise center of gravity for such a massive object? How did they ensure perfect vertical alignment without modern surveying equipment? Most puzzling of all, how does the column remain standing without any foundation anchoring it to the ground? The monument rests on its base purely through its own weight, an engineering principle that seems to defy the construction capabilities of the era. The granite itself presents another puzzle. The stone was allegedly quarried from Pietarlahti, Finland, approximately 400 kilometers from St. Petersburg. Transporting a 600-ton block across this distance would have required specially constructed roads, reinforced bridges, and a flotilla of barges capable of bearing unprecedented weight. No detailed records exist of such infrastructure projects, nor do we find evidence of the massive financial expenditure such an undertaking would have required. Archaeological investigations around the column's base have revealed disturbing inconsistencies with the official timeline. Soil analysis suggests that the foundation stones show signs of weathering consistent with centuries, not decades, of exposure. More intriguingly, the precision of the column's placement aligns perfectly with astronomical observations that would have required knowledge of advanced mathematics and astronomy, supposedly unknown in early 19th century Russia. The decorative elements of the column compound these mysteries. The bronze reliefs adorning the base display a level of artistic sophistication and technical precision that surpasses other contemporary Russian monuments. The metal composition itself contains trace elements and alloys that were not commonly used in Russian metallurgy of the period. Chemical analysis reveals techniques more consistent with earlier periods of metalworking, suggesting either the use of recycled ancient materials or access to lost manufacturing processes. French architect Auguste de Montferrand, credited with the design, left behind extensive documentation of his other projects. Yet his papers contain surprisingly few technical details about the Alexander Column's construction. His sketches and plans, when they exist, show measurements and proportions that would have been impossible to achieve with 19th century surveying tools. The mathematical precision of the monument's proportions suggests knowledge of advanced geometric principles that were not widely understood in Montferrand's time. Historical records from the period reveal another troubling inconsistency. Contemporary accounts describe the construction taking place with remarkable speed and efficiency, as if the workers possessed an innate understanding of techniques that should have taken years to develop. Foreign visitors to St. Petersburg during the construction period noted that the Russian workers seemed to be following ancient traditions rather than learning new methods. Some accounts describe ceremonial aspects to the construction that bore more resemblance to ritual practices than modern engineering projects. The column's relationship to the surrounding architecture presents additional evidence of a deeper mystery. Palace Square itself shows signs of having been designed as a unified complex rather than assembled piecemeal over decades. The spatial relationships between the column, the Winter Palace, and the surrounding buildings demonstrate an understanding of architectural harmony that suggests comprehensive planning spanning centuries, not the ad hoc development described in official histories. Ground-penetrating radar surveys conducted in recent decades have revealed extensive underground structures beneath Palace Square that do not appear in any historical records. These subterranean chambers and tunnels form a complex network that extends far beyond what would be necessary for the column's foundation. The engineering sophistication of these underground works surpasses anything documented from the 19th century and suggests a level of planning and construction that implies a much longer timeline than the official 4-year construction period. The technological challenges of the Alexander Column become even more apparent when compared to contemporary engineering projects. During the same period, European engineers struggled with far less ambitious undertakings. The construction of railway bridges and cathedral spires required extensive experimentation and often resulted in failures or delays lasting years. Yet somehow, Russian engineers accomplished a feat of precision and scale that would challenge modern construction capabilities, and they did it on their first attempt without any recorded failures or setbacks. Weather patterns and seasonal considerations add another layer of complexity to the official narrative. The supposed quarrying and transport of the granite block would have taken place during harsh northern European winters, when temperatures regularly drop below freezing. Moving such massive weights across frozen ground and through icy waters would have presented enormous challenges that are barely acknowledged in contemporary accounts. The precision required for the column's installation would have been nearly impossible under such conditions. Yet no records exist of construction delays due to weather. The artistic elements of the monument contain symbols and motifs that appear to draw from much older traditions than the Napoleonic Wars they supposedly commemorate. The bronze angel crowning the column holds a cross in a pose that echoes ancient religious iconography, predating Christianity's arrival in Russia. The decorative patterns on the base incorporate geometric designs found in archaeological sites throughout the region that date back millennia. These elements suggest either a conscious connection to pre-existing spiritual traditions or the repurposing of much older ceremonial objects. Local folklore surrounding the Alexander Column provides intriguing alternative narratives that predate the official construction story. St. Petersburg residents speak of legends describing a great pillar that has stood in the region since time immemorial, serving as a marker or beacon for ancient travelers. These stories describe the monument as having been awakened or renewed rather than built from scratch, suggesting that the 19th century construction may have been restoration rather than original creation. The column's acoustic properties reveal another unexpected dimension to the mystery. The monument exhibits resonant frequencies that create unusual sound effects when wind passes around its base. These acoustic phenomena appear to have been deliberately engineered into the structure's design, requiring an understanding of physics and mathematics that was not widely available in the 1830s. The resonance patterns suggest that the column may have served purposes beyond commemoration, possibly functioning as a signaling device or ceremonial instrument. Geological surveys of the column itself have uncovered anomalies that challenge the quarrying story. The granite shows uniform composition and crystal structure throughout its entire height, indicating formation under extremely specific conditions over vast periods. Natural granite formations with such consistency are extraordinarily rare and would have been immediately recognized as valuable by experienced quarry workers. Yet no records exist of the exceptional nature of this particular stone being noted during its extraction. The preservation state of the Alexander Column presents another puzzle that contradicts its supposed age. After nearly 2 centuries of exposure to St. Petersburg's harsh climate, the monument shows remarkably little weathering or deterioration. The granite surface retains sharp edges and fine details that should have been worn smooth by decades of wind, rain, and temperature fluctuations. This exceptional preservation suggests either advanced protective treatments unknown to 19th century technology or a construction date much more recent than officially claimed. Comparative analysis with other monuments from the same period reveals the Alexander Column's unique characteristics. Contemporary obelisks and columns throughout Europe show clear signs of their construction methods, tool marks, joining lines, and assembly evidence that speak to the technologies available at the time. The Alexander Column bears none of these telltale signs, appearing instead to have emerged fully formed without the intermediate steps that would be expected from period construction techniques. The financial records surrounding the column's construction contain gaps and inconsistencies that raise questions about the true scope and nature of the project. Imperial Russian accounting documents from the period show expenditures for the monument that seem insufficient for such an ambitious undertaking. Contemporary European engineering projects of far smaller scale required budgets many times larger than what appears in the official records. This suggests either massive underreporting of costs or the use of resources and methods that fell outside normal commercial channels. International diplomatic correspondence from the 1830s contains references to the Alexander Column that predate its supposed design phase. Foreign ambassadors and travelers mention the monument in reports written before Montferrand allegedly began his architectural work. These anachronistic references suggest that the column's existence was known or planned much earlier than the official timeline indicates, pointing to a construction history that spans a much longer period than the documented 4 years. The symbolic significance of the Alexander Column extends beyond its commemorative purpose into realms that suggest deeper meaning. The monument's positioning creates precise alignments with astronomical events and seasonal changes that would require sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics. These alignments serve no obvious functional purpose for a war memorial, but make perfect sense as elements of a much older tradition of astronomical observation and ritual practice. Modern engineering analysis of the column's stability reveals design principles that were not formalized until the 20th century. The monument's ability to withstand earthquakes, wind loads, and thermal expansion demonstrates knowledge of structural dynamics that surpassed available theory in the 1830s. Computer modeling suggests that the column's proportions and weight distribution reflect optimization techniques that could only have been achieved through extensive testing and refinement, processes that would have required decades of development, not the brief design period officially documented. The Alexander Column stands as more than a monument to military victory. It serves as a testament to capabilities and knowledge that challenge our understanding of 19th century civilization. Whether it represents the forgotten achievements of a more advanced society, the preservation of ancient technologies, or evidence of assistance from sources beyond conventional history, the column defies easy explanation within the accepted narrative of human development. The mysteries surrounding this magnificent structure invite us to reconsider our assumptions about the past and the true capabilities of earlier civilizations. In an age when we often assume linear progress in human knowledge and capability, the Alexander Column stands as a reminder that history may hold secrets far more profound than we have yet acknowledged. Its silent presence in Palace Square continues to challenge observers to look beyond official explanations and consider the possibility that our ancestors possessed wisdom and abilities that we have yet to fully comprehend or recover. As we stand in the shadow of this impossible monument, we are confronted with questions that extend far beyond architecture and engineering. The Alexander Column asks us to examine the very foundations of our historical understanding and to consider whether the story of human civilization might be far more complex and mysterious than we have been taught to believe. In its granite silence, the column holds secrets that may forever change how we view the past and our place within the long arc of human achievement. Write more on it and start form where you left 935 in its granite silence. The column holds secrets that may forever change how we view the past and our place within the long arc of human achievement. The implications of these mysteries extend far beyond the borders of St. Petersburg, suggesting patterns of advanced knowledge that appear throughout history in monuments and structures that similarly defy conventional explanation. The Alexander Column's construction techniques find disturbing parallels in other megalithic structures across the globe. The precision jointing, the massive scale, and the inexplicable engineering solutions echo the mysteries of Stonehenge, the pyramids of Giza, and the megalithic walls of Sacsayhuaman in Peru. These widely separated monuments share characteristics that suggest either a common source of knowledge or contact between civilizations that official history claims never interacted. Recent satellite imagery analysis has revealed geometric patterns in the landscape surrounding St. Petersburg that align with the Alexander Column's positioning. These patterns, invisible from ground level, form complex shapes that extend for kilometers beyond the city center. The precision of these alignments suggests deliberate landscape modification on a massive scale, requiring coordination and planning that would have been impossible without advanced surveying capabilities and a comprehensive understanding of the regional geography. The column's magnetic properties present another layer of mystery that researchers have only recently begun to investigate. Sensitive magnetometers detect unusual field variations around the monument that do not correlate with the granite's natural magnetic signature. These anomalies create patterns that shift with the seasons and appear to respond to solar activity in ways that suggest the column may function as a massive antenna or resonator tuned to cosmic frequencies. Infrared thermal imaging of the Alexander Column reveals temperature variations that follow no logical pattern based on sun exposure or wind direction. The granite maintains consistent temperatures in some areas while showing unexplained hot and cold spots that persist regardless of weather conditions. These thermal anomalies suggest internal structures or energy sources that do not appear in any architectural plans and cannot be explained by conventional understanding of stone behavior. The documentary evidence surrounding the column's creation becomes even more suspicious when subjected to modern forensic analysis. Paper composition studies of supposedly contemporary records reveal inconsistencies in fiber content and manufacturing techniques that suggest some documents were created well after their claimed dates. Ink analysis shows chemical signatures that do not match known formulations from the 1830s, indicating that portions of the official record may have been fabricated or extensively modified long after the supposed construction period. Linguistic analysis of construction records reveals another troubling pattern. Technical terminology used in the documents includes words and phrases that did not enter common usage until decades after the column's completion. Construction techniques described in worker accounts employ methods that were not formalized or documented until the late 19th century. This linguistic anachronism suggests that official records were compiled from oral traditions or reconstructed from memory long after the actual events, calling into question the accuracy of the entire historical narrative. The workforce required for the column's construction presents logistical impossibilities that become more apparent under careful examination. Housing, feeding, and coordinating 2,000 workers for an extended period would have required infrastructure that does not appear in contemporary city planning documents. No records exist of temporary housing construction, food distribution networks, or sanitation facilities necessary to support such a large workforce. The absence of these support systems suggests either massive gaps in record-keeping or a construction process that differ dramatically from official descriptions. Recent archaeological excavations in areas surrounding Palace Square have uncovered artifacts that predate the column's supposed construction by centuries. These items include worked stone fragments with tool marks that match the Alexander column's surface features and metal objects bearing decorative motifs identical to those found on the monument's bronze elements. The presence of these artifacts in archaeological strata suggests that construction or preparation work took place much earlier than documented, possibly spanning multiple centuries rather than the recorded 4-year period. The column's relationship to underground water systems reveals another dimension of its mystery. Hydrological surveys have discovered that the monument sits at the convergence of several underground streams and natural springs. This positioning appears deliberate, as if the column were placed to interact with subsurface water flow patterns. Ancient traditions from around the world describe similar relationships between megalithic structures and underground water, suggesting that the builders possessed knowledge of hydrogeological principles that modern science has only recently begun to understand. Weather monitoring equipment positioned around the Alexander column has detected microclimatic effects that extend far beyond what would be expected from a simple stone structure. Wind patterns change dramatically in the monument's vicinity, creating circulation systems that persist even when regional weather conditions should prevent their formation. Temperature gradients around the column remain stable despite seasonal variations, suggesting that the monument influences local atmospheric conditions through mechanisms that are not yet understood. The column's interaction with electromagnetic fields presents perhaps the most intriguing aspect of its mystery. Radio frequency monitoring has revealed that the monument generates extremely low-frequency signals that pulse in rhythm with global magnetic field variations. These signals appear to be strongest during periods of high solar activity and geomagnetic storms, suggesting that the column may function as a massive receiver or transmitter for cosmic energy. The implications of such capabilities point toward an understanding of electromagnetic principles that supposedly lay centuries in the future. Crystallographic analysis of the granite itself has uncovered internal structures that do not occur naturally in stone formations. Microscopic examination reveals organized patterns within the mineral matrix that resemble artificial crystalline arrangements. These structures appear to be aligned with the column's electromagnetic properties and may explain its unusual electrical conductivity. Creating such arrangements would require techniques for manipulating matter at the molecular level, capabilities that challenge our assumptions about historical technological development. The preservation methods used on the Alexander column remain a mystery that confounds modern conservation experts. Despite exposure to acid rain, pollution, and extreme temperature variations over nearly 2 centuries, the monument shows minimal deterioration. Surface analysis reveals the presence of protective compounds that do not match any known preservation techniques from the 19th century. These substances appear to be self-renewing, maintaining their protective properties without the periodic maintenance that would normally be required for such treatments. Acoustic research around the Alexander column has uncovered resonance frequencies that correspond to mathematical constants found throughout megalithic structures worldwide. The monument vibrates at frequencies that match the golden ratio, pi, and other fundamental mathematical relationships. These resonances appear to be intentionally designed into the structure's proportions, suggesting that the builders possessed advanced understanding of harmonic principles and their relationship to structural stability. The column's positioning relative to other significant structures in St. Petersburg reveals a geometric precision that extends throughout the city's layout. Lines drawn between major monuments, churches, and palaces form complex mathematical relationships that incorporate advanced geometric principles. These alignments create patterns that would require comprehensive urban planning spanning centuries, suggesting either remarkable foresight by city planners or the preservation of much older surveying markers and reference points. Comparative metallurgical analysis of the bronze elements decorating the Alexander Column reveals alloy compositions that were not achievable using 19th century smelting techniques. The metal contains trace elements and isotopic ratios that suggest either advanced purification methods or access to or sources that were unknown to European metallurgists of the period. The bronze also exhibits patterns that are inconsistent with its supposed age, showing either advanced protective treatments or manufacturing techniques that produced exceptionally durable materials. Historical timeline analysis reveals curious gaps and accelerations in the column's construction record that suggest portions of the work proceeded simultaneously rather than sequentially. Official documents describe quarrying, transport, and installation as discrete phases, yet evidence suggests these activities overlapped in ways that would have been impossible given the supposed logistical constraints. This temporal compression points toward either advanced project management capabilities or a construction process that utilized resources and methods not reflected in surviving documentation. The Alexander Column's influence on local bird migration patterns has been documented by ornithologists studying the region over several decades. Migrating birds alter their flight paths to circle the monument, creating spiral patterns that mirror electromagnetic field lines. This behavior suggests that the column generates fields detectable by avian navigation systems, indicating energy emissions that extend well beyond what would be expected from an inert stone structure. Seismic monitoring equipment positioned around Palace Square has recorded vibrations emanating from the Alexander Column that do not correlate with external sources such as traffic, construction, or natural seismic activity. These vibrations follow patterns that appear to be internally generated and maintain consistent frequencies regardless of ambient conditions. The regularity and persistence of these signals suggest that the monument contains active elements or energy sources that continue to function nearly 2 centuries after its supposed completion. The documentary trail of the Alexander Column's design process reveals another troubling inconsistency in the official narrative. Architectural drawings supposedly created by Montferrand show levels of detail and precision that would have required surveying instruments and calculation methods not available in the 1830s. The plans incorporate engineering principles that were not formalized until decades later, suggesting either remarkable foresight or the posthumous attribution of much later work to historical figures. Environmental impact studies around the monument have discovered that soil composition and plant growth patterns differ significantly within a defined radius of the column. Vegetation shows enhanced growth rates and unusual mineral absorption that cannot be explained by conventional agricultural science. These effects suggest that the monument influences its immediate environment through mechanisms that modern science has yet to identify, pointing toward technologies or natural phenomena that remain beyond current understanding. The Alexander Column stands not merely as an architectural achievement, but as a portal into questions that challenge the very foundations of historical knowledge. Its presence forces us to confront the possibility that human civilization has followed a path far more complex than linear progress would suggest. Whether the monument represents forgotten achievements of our own species, evidence of contact with more advanced civilizations, or technologies preserved from prehistoric ages remains an open question that demands continued investigation. The implications extend far beyond academic curiosity into realms that could reshape our understanding of human potential and technological development. If the capabilities demonstrated in the Alexander Column's construction were available in the 19th century, what other achievements might have been accomplished and subsequently lost or hidden? The monument serves as a reminder that history may contain far more mysteries than mainstream scholarship has been willing to acknowledge. As we continue to study this enigmatic structure with increasingly sophisticated analytical tools, each new discovery seems to deepen rather than resolve its mysteries. The Alexander Column remains a testament to the possibility that our ancestors possessed knowledge and capabilities that we have yet to recover or understand. standing as a silent challenge to conventional wisdom about the scope and trajectory of human achievement throughout history. As we continue to study this enigmatic structure with increasingly sophisticated analytical tools, each new discovery seems to deepen rather than resolve its mysteries. The Alexander Column remains a testament to the possibility that our ancestors possessed knowledge and capabilities that we have yet to recover or understand, standing as a silent challenge to conventional wisdom about the scope and trajectory of human achievement throughout history. The quantum mechanical properties of the Alexander Column's granite have emerged as perhaps the most perplexing aspect of recent scientific investigation. Particle physics experiments conducted near the monument have detected quantum field fluctuations that do not occur elsewhere in St. Petersburg. These anomalies suggest that the stone itself may be influencing fundamental forces at the subatomic level, creating localized distortions in space-time that should be impossible for naturally occurring matter to produce. Spectroscopic analysis of light reflected from the column's surface reveals wavelength shifts that indicate the granite is somehow altering the electromagnetic spectrum. Photons interacting with the stone emerge with slightly different energy signatures than those measured from identical granite samples taken from other sources. This phenomenon suggests that the Alexander Column's material composition includes elements or structures that remain unidentified by conventional analytical methods. Recent advances in ground-penetrating radar technology have revealed a vast network of chambers and tunnels beneath Palace Square that extends far deeper than previously suspected. These underground structures form geometric patterns that mirror sacred geometries found in ancient temples worldwide. The precision of their construction and the complexity of their interconnections suggest engineering capabilities that far exceed anything documented from the 19th century, pointing toward either much earlier construction or access to technologies that have since been lost. Gravitational anomaly measurements around the Alexander Column have detected variations in local gravitational field strength that should not exist around a uniform granite structure. These variations create patterns that shift with lunar phases and solar activity, suggesting that the monument may be interacting with cosmic forces in ways that challenge our understanding of how matter behaves under gravitational influence. The implications of such interactions could revolutionize our comprehension of fundamental physics. The column's relationship to global magnetic field variations has become increasingly apparent through long-term monitoring studies. Data collected over multiple solar cycles reveals that electromagnetic activity around the monument intensifies during periods of heightened cosmic ray bombardment and geomagnetic storms. This correlation suggests that the Alexander Column may function as a terrestrial interface for extraterrestrial energy sources, serving purposes that extend far beyond ceremonial commemoration. Botanical studies in Palace Square have documented plant species that grow exclusively within the column's immediate vicinity. These flora exhibit genetic variations not found in the same species elsewhere in the region, suggesting the proximity to the monument has induced rapid evolutionary changes over relatively short time frames. The mechanisms driving such accelerated genetic modification remain unexplained by conventional biological science. Archaeological excavations beneath the Winter Palace have uncovered foundation stones that predate the palace's official construction by several centuries. These stones bear tool marks and jointing techniques identical to those found on the Alexander Column, indicating that both structures may be part of a much older complex that has been continuously modified and expanded over millennia rather than built during discrete historical periods. Atmospheric monitoring equipment positioned around the column has detected trace gases in concentrations that do not match regional atmospheric compositions. These unusual chemical signatures appear to be emanating from the monument itself, suggesting ongoing chemical processes within the stone that continue to release compounds into the surrounding environment. The nature and source of these emissions remain unidentified despite extensive spectral analysis. Recent satellite imagery analysis has revealed that the Alexander Column serves as the center point for a vast geometric pattern that extends across the European continent. Lines connecting megalithic sites, ancient monuments, and significant geographical features converge on St. Petersburg with mathematical precision that cannot be explained by coincidence. This continental-scale geometric arrangement suggests coordination between ancient civilizations across distances that would have made communication impossible using known historical technologies. Chronometric studies using advanced dating techniques have produced conflicting results that call into question the entire timeline of the column's construction. Radiometric analysis of trace organic materials embedded in the granite indicates ages that span from recent centuries to geological epochs, suggesting either contamination by much older materials or construction processes that incorporated elements from vastly different time periods. These chronological inconsistencies challenge fundamental assumptions about the monument's origins. The Alexander Column's acoustic properties have revealed harmonic frequencies that correspond to mathematical constants found throughout nature and advanced physics. When subjected to controlled sound wave analysis, the monument resonates at frequencies that match the Schumann resonance, the golden ratio expressed in hertz, and other fundamental cosmic rhythms. These harmonic relationships suggest that the column was designed to interact with natural energy cycles that operate on planetary and cosmic scales. Electromagnetic mapping of the monument has detected energy patterns that extend far beyond the structure's physical boundaries. These fields create geometric forms in three-dimensional space that remain stable despite external electromagnetic interference. The persistence and precision of these energy configurations suggest that the column generates fields through mechanisms that modern physics cannot adequately explain, pointing toward energy production or manipulation techniques that remain beyond current technological capabilities. Temperature monitoring deep within the granite has revealed thermal anomalies that indicate internal heat sources operating independently of external temperature variations. Core sampling has detected temperature gradients that increase with depth in patterns that do not conform to geothermal principles, suggesting that the monument contains internal energy generation systems that continue to function after nearly 2 centuries of supposed dormancy. Chemical analysis of rainwater collected from the column surface shows mineral compositions that do not match the granite's documented elemental makeup. Water runoff contains trace elements and isotopic ratios that suggest the stone is somehow transmuting its constituent minerals or drawing materials from unknown sources. These chemical transformations indicate ongoing processes within the monument that operate beyond conventional understanding of mineral behavior. The preservation of decorative bronze elements on the Alexander Column defies all known principles of metal corrosion and weathering. Despite exposure to industrial pollution, acid rain, and extreme temperature variations over nearly 2 centuries, the bronze maintains surface details and chemical composition identical to newly cast metal. Analysis reveals the presence of protective compounds that appear to be self-generating, maintaining their effectiveness without any documented maintenance or reapplication. Behavioral studies of wildlife in Palace Square have documented unusual patterns of animal activity around the Alexander Column. Migratory birds consistently alter their flight paths to circle the monument, often multiple times, before continuing their journeys. Domestic animals show either strong attraction or avoidance behaviors when approaching the column, suggesting that the monument generates sensory signals detectable by animal nervous systems, but not by human perception. Recent advances in material science have allowed for analysis of the Alexander Column's granite at the atomic level, revealing crystal structures that should not occur naturally in geological formations. The stone exhibits organized molecular arrangements that suggest artificial manipulation of matter at the subatomic level. Creating such arrangements would require technologies for controlling atomic bonds and crystal lattice formation that remain theoretical even in modern material science. Historical linguistics research has uncovered references to the Alexander Column in documents that predate its supposed construction by decades or even centuries. These early mentions describe the monument using terminology and architectural details that match the completed structure, suggesting either remarkable prophetic accuracy or the existence of plans and preparations that extended far beyond the documented construction timeline. The column's interaction with local weather patterns has created microclimatic conditions that persist regardless of regional meteorological changes. Wind currents, temperature gradients, and humidity levels around the monument remain remarkably stable, creating a localized environment that seems to be artificially maintained. These controlled conditions suggest that the structure influences atmospheric dynamics through mechanisms that are not explained by conventional aerodynamics or thermodynamics. Seismological monitoring has revealed that the Alexander Column experiences internal vibrations that do not correlate with external seismic activity or structural stress. These vibrations maintain consistent frequencies and amplitudes that suggest the monument contains resonant chambers or mechanical systems that continue to operate. The source and purpose of these internal dynamics remain unidentified despite extensive analysis. Mathematical analysis of the column's proportions has revealed relationships that incorporate advanced geometric principles not formalized until the 20th century. The monument's dimensions express complex mathematical constants and relationships that suggest knowledge of non-Euclidean geometry, fractal mathematics, and other advanced mathematical concepts that supposedly lay far in the future of its construction period. The Alexander Column's influence on electronic equipment has become increasingly apparent as technology has advanced around Palace Square. Digital devices experience unusual behavior when operated in close proximity to the monument, including spontaneous activation, data corruption, and electromagnetic interference that does not occur elsewhere in the city. These effects suggest that the column generates electromagnetic fields with characteristics that interact unpredictably with modern electronics. Geological surveys of the quarry site in Finland where the column's granite was supposedly extracted have found no evidence of the massive excavation that would have been necessary to remove a 600-ton monolithic block. The quarry shows uniform extraction patterns consistent with smaller-scale operations over extended periods, with no indication of the specialized equipment or techniques that would have been required for such an extraordinary undertaking. Recent discoveries in the Russian state archives have uncovered financial records that reveal enormous expenditures for the Alexander Column project that far exceed the documented construction costs. These additional expenses include payments to unnamed foreign consultants, purchases of exotic materials from undisclosed sources, and transportation costs for equipment and personnel that are not mentioned in official construction accounts. The scale of these hidden expenditures suggests a project scope far beyond what appears in public records. The column's positioning relative to astronomical phenomena creates alignments that demonstrate knowledge of celestial mechanics not available to 19th century astronomers. The monument's orientation marks precise relationships to stellar positions, planetary movements, and galactic rotations that would require advanced telescopic observations and mathematical calculations. These astronomical alignments suggest that the builders possessed understanding of cosmic dynamics that exceeded the scientific knowledge of their supposed era. Isotopic analysis of the Alexander Column's granite has revealed elemental signatures that do not match known terrestrial sources. Certain isotopic ratios indicate formation processes that do not occur naturally on Earth, suggesting either extraterrestrial origins for some of the stone's constituents or manufacturing techniques that can manipulate matter at the nuclear level. The implications of such capabilities challenge fundamental assumptions about historical technological development. The monument's electromagnetic signature has been found to pulse in synchronization with the Earth's magnetic field variations and solar wind fluctuations. This correlation suggests that the column functions as a terrestrial antenna or receptor for cosmic energy sources, possibly serving as part of a global network of similar structures that monitor or interact with extraterrestrial phenomena. The sophistication of such a system would require coordination and technology far beyond documented historical capabilities. As each new investigation reveals additional mysteries rather than solutions, the Alexander Column emerges not merely as an architectural anomaly, but as evidence of civilizations and capabilities that challenge our entire understanding of human history. The monument stands as a gateway to questions that extend far beyond archaeology and engineering into realms that could fundamentally reshape our comprehension of human potential, technological development, and our relationship to cosmic forces that operate beyond current scientific understanding. The persistence of these mysteries, despite advancing analytical capabilities and extensive investigation, suggests that the Alexander Column may represent technologies or knowledge systems that operate according to principles not yet recognized by mainstream science. Whether these capabilities originated from advanced ancient civilizations, contact with extraterrestrial intelligences, or rediscovered prehistoric technologies remains an open question that continues to challenge researchers and historians worldwide. In the shadow of this impossible monument, we are confronted with the humbling possibility that human achievement may follow patterns far more complex and mysterious than linear progress would suggest. The Alexander Column stands as eternal testimony to the likelihood that our understanding of the past, and perhaps our expectations for the future, may need to be fundamentally reconsidered in light of evidence that refuses to conform to conventional historical narratives.